Welcome to the Perrysburg Podcast, episode 110. I am your host, Perrysburg resident Kim Newlove. The Perrysburg Podcast is a resource for Perrysburg residents. We talk about what's in Perrysburg and why people like to live here. Our website is perrysburgpodcast.com. Fire Marshal Aaron Harwell from the City of Perrysburg's Fire Division is my guest today. He'll share fire prevention tips, talk about the upcoming open house at the fire station on Meigs Road, and more. And when I say and more, we talk about all kinds of stuff: AEDs, stop the bleed kits, CPR classes, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, fire extinguishers, the city's Knox box program, community partners like the American Red Cross and Safe Kids Greater Toledo, a character named Max the dog who helps children learn about fire safety, and of course, National Fire Prevention Week, which is coming up here in October. The theme is very timely, and I will let Aaron tell you about that. Without further ado, here's my conversation with Aaron Harwell. Hi, Aaron. Welcome to the Perrysburg Podcast.
Hi, Kim. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Let's talk about some fire prevention topics and some public safety stuff today. I'm excited.
It's my specialty.
Awesome. Well, I had this whole laundry list of things that we could maybe talk about, but when you told me that there was an open house coming up on September 7th, that drew my attention first. So if you don't mind, let's talk about that.
Yeah, we're pretty excited. September 7th from 1 to 4 at the Fort Meigs Fire Station, our headquarters. We're going to be, really, it's technically our second open house. We had one last year. It was our first inaugural one. We had one back, I think in 2019, right when we built the station, kind of as a welcome to the community type of thing, but with the pandemic and everything, it kind of got shuttered. So we brought it back last year. It was probably more successful than we anticipated. There was a lot of people, and a lot of people showed up. And it was great. And we kind of took that template and we're going to kind of reproduce it this year. So we're pretty excited.
Okay. What kind of activities do you have?
So we will land an air ambulance, so a helicopter, which is fun. And we do that in coordination with, we kind of demonstrate like two cars getting in an accident. We pretend like we extricate a person from the car, put it on the cot, and then take it to the air ambulance. So during that whole scenario, and that's typical if like we have somebody that it has a prolonged extrication, we'll call for an air ambulance to get there so we can get the patient loaded into the ambulance and taken to the hospital quicker. So that was a really cool thing that we did last year. Another thing is we rappel from our tower. We have a training tower there, so we'll have some guys rappel down and like pick off somebody, like actually rescue them.
Oh, cool.
So that's a really neat scenario. And new this year, the state fire marshal is bringing in their sprinkler trailer. So basically it shows two different bedrooms. It's outfitted, like a bed, and maybe, a dresser, a lamp, things like that. And one will have a sprinkler and one will not. And we will light each room on fire, and we'll see how quickly a sprinkler puts out a fire as opposed to a non-sprinkled house or building. And that's a real eye-opener. And we kind of did that in 2019, but we kind of built our own. But the state's coming in and kind of showcase their trailer, which is a nice tool and prop for the community to see.
It will have furniture and curtains and all the things that a house normally has in it?
Yes, and you'll see how quickly those things burn and how little time you have, right, in a house fire. So it's a great tool, great resource, and we're excited to have the state fire marshal there. Some of our other community partners, we're going to have Ohio State Patrol out there, our own police department. I think the sheriff's going to be there. Safe Kids, the Red Cross. It's a lot of different partners will be showcasing there what they do for the community. Parking's been kind of a trouble, right? Because we have more people than we thought. So overflow parking will be at Rivercrest and Rotary Park, and then we'll have the sheriff will actually shuttle people back and forth. So we're really excited.
Shuttle them back and forth in a van or
like a golf cart. Yeah, they have kind of an extended golf cart. They can probably take six people at a time.
I think I've seen those at the fair.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's exactly what it's like.
Thanks for talking about that open house. I was joking with you before I hit record, but just for anybody wondering, they do not allow people to slide down any sort of a pole.
Nope, we don't have them. We don't have them.
All right. Thanks for clearing that
Yeah,
up. Myth
no problem.
busted.
Yeah.
Anything else on the open house before we move on?
We're also going to have like an AED demo there. So we can talk about that too because we have AEDs in the parks now. Fire safety trailer will be there. I think we'll have an inflatable kind of a fire safety house. So there's a lot going on. Kona Ice is out there passing out Kona Ice. So it's just a load of fun and not a lot of time, but we get a lot of people in there. So we're excited.
Okay. The date again is Sunday, September 7th. And did you say 1 to 4?
That's correct. 1 to 4.
1 to 4. Okay. Got it. And if somebody wants to learn more about that, is that on your website?
I do believe there's a Facebook event created from the city, but on our website, not so much. But I think, yeah, I'd say Facebook is probably your best. And they'll be putting stuff out quite a bit in the next couple weeks too. So
And you talked about partnering with Safe Kids Greater Toledo for that. What are they going to be doing at this open house?
we have a Max Aaron's fire safety program that there's a book that was created by local fire prevention officials years ago. Has a coloring book, so they showcase that. They also will probably talk about one of the big things that Safe Kids does is they do car seat installations. So they talk about how to do that, where to get it done at, things like that. So Safe Kids is a great partner for us, and they'll have a table there with all that information.
Very good. I know they're a safety
Yeah.
injury prevention organization.
Yep, it's international too. So and they just have a local, I guess, field office here in Toledo.
Right. Anything else about that open house?
You just better be there. Okay.
It's the place to
That's
be on
right.
September 7th.
Yes, yes.
Rain or shine,
For sure.
for families,
Please
adults
pray
and kids.
for good weather. We had
Yes.
beautiful weather last year. Beautiful weather.
Well, I'll be praying for that. Good weather.
Thanks.
Very good. You mentioned AEDs. How does one do an AED demonstration? Do you have a mannequin?
Yeah, we have mannequin, but we also have the actual demo of that AED. So it kind of runs you through the prompts. It kind of just it tells you what to do, right? And that's really the main thing we're trying to focus is they're out at the parks now. So we have them at which parks do we have them?
Rotary, Woodlands.
Oh,
I was just at
yeah, keep
Three
going.
Meadows Pond last night, or Three Meadows Park. They had one out there in the shelter house.
Yep. Municipal. There's one in Municipal. You said Rivercrest, Rotary, Three
Rivercrest,
Meadows, and
yep.
Woodlands. We also have them in the municipal buildings and both fire stations as well. So, also with that is recognizing where they're at, right? So getting the community involved to actually go locate them, right? Because when they're out at the parks with the kids playing sports, it's important to know where they're at. Because if you don't know where they're at, how you gonna get them, right? So any way we can get our residents to start identifying them and seeing where they're at and telling their friends and their neighbors is probably the best thing we can do. Because then what we'll do at the open house is we'll show them how to use it, right? I mean, they can get their hands on it and actually use it because it is the most important thing you can do when it comes to somebody that their heart stops, out. And we've heard it with, sports teams, things like that, things that happen to, NFL players all the way to school age kids. So
AEDs save lives.
they do for sure. Again, knowing where they're at is probably paramount, right? And then knowing what to do. And then we also do hands only CPR, which people who aren't certified, they can learn how to do that, which is another great resource to learn.
You're doing that at the open house?
Yeah, we'll have mannequins there for people to put their hands on.
Wow.
Mannequins to do hands only CPR. And then the other thing that we do is we offer classes too. So all throughout the year, we have certification courses for CPR. We also have what we call a lifesaver course, which is a non-certified, which basically runs you through the AEDs. It runs you through hands only CPR. But also, unfortunately, we also have to talk about Stop the Bleed. So we have Stop the Bleed kits. And I believe, I'm pretty sure that I haven't been to every AED where they're at, but pretty sure that they all have Stop the Bleed kits too. So in case anything happens.
Municipal Park has a Stop the Bleed kit. I actually walked up to it and I saw it and I said, what is a Stop the Bleed kit? So for anybody listening to this wondering, what is a Stop the Bleed kit? What is it, Aaron?
accidents happen, whether they're, how do I
Maybe
say
somebody's
this?
playing baseball. There's a lot of baseball diamonds. I think there's 5 at municipal parks. So in a baseball game situation, what's a situation where somebody might need a stop the bleed kit?
Metal cleats, right? If you're sliding into base and you get caught snagged by a metal cleat, you could have pretty severe bleeding, right? And usually arterial bleeding, which is really what we're trying to stop. And those kits will help. They have a tourniquet. They have, I think, different swabs to put on those injuries to help stop the bleed. Hence the name.
There you go. Tourniquet and dressings is what
Right.
I hear you
Dressings.
saying.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's all neatly in a compact little baggie, it looks like. But then if somebody even opens the case to access the stop the bleed kit, what happens?
I'm not sure if the stop the bleed kit, I don't think they're in the AED kits, but the AED has, so they're out there all year long, right? So they're actually in a conditioned case where it stays warm enough to where even in the winter that the batteries can stay maintained and they're not out in the cold per se. So the AED kits, when you do open them, I know they alarm and they will. So it's for tamper, right? So any kids out there, if they don't want to just open those things up, because it will actually send an alert to our dispatch, and the police will be dispatched and fire as well, right, to make sure that they're not needed, you
Hmm.
know. And I think it'll alarm until somebody shuts it off. But if you need it, just deal with the alarm. You know what I mean? They just take it and
Oh, I'm
go.
glad you talked about that. That may deter some curious kids who,
For
make
sure.
bad choices.
But to talk about the stop the bleed kits, to your point, people don't know what's in them, right? So that's another reason why we have these basic lifesaver classes, is so people can put hands on these kits and see what's in them, and when to use them, how to use them, things like that. So it's a really great class. I mean, it's great because it's non-certified. There's no test. It's just something for the residents to get their hands on things that they don't typically use every day, but if they need it, boy, they sure need to get their hands on it.
Yeah, anybody can walk up to this open house and you'll be kind of rotating through, having little
Hmm.
classrooms of people check these things out, right?
That's right. Open house, but also, like I said, sign up for a class too.
How
And
does somebody sign up for a class? Do you advertise that on your sign, your electronic sign out front?
yeah, there's that. Their website's probably the best place for that because you can sign up for the classes and everything. It's under the fire division, under our programs, and there's several this year still, I believe, a couple of them. But like I said, we have American Heart certified classes for people who need the certification, the basic lifesaver classes for people who just need to get hands on, and then just for their friends and neighbors. And then we also have babysitting CPR classes. Those are non-certified as well, but they're great for kids, and they are probably our most popular. We only have two, but I think we're going to add a third next year. So we'll probably have one in the spring, one in the fall, summer, and then one in the fall. So those are very well attended.
Yeah, I think I've seen it advertised as a babysitter class. Is
Hmm.
that right?
Hmm.
I think it'd be even good for older siblings who end up watching their younger siblings, don't you think?
That, and in addition to grandparents,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's for 10 and up. Okay. So anybody 10 and older, we'd like to see you there because again, these, grandparents are watching kids these days, and it's a great skill to know.
Awesome. We are covering so much
I
ground
know.
here.
I
We're
know.
talking about babysitter classes. I love this. AEDs, CPR and first aid. What haven't we talked about yet? I noticed there's something called a Knox box program. I think
Mm,
it's been advertised on your sign out front. I don't know what that is.
yeah,
What is
that's
that?
so Knox box is so businesses have them. Anytime they have a sprinkler or a fire alarm in the building, we require a Knox box. And so basically what happens is if the fire alarm or the sprinkler goes off, there's nobody around. It's a lot cheaper to be able to get into a box and pull the key out as opposed to, we have lots of tools to take indoors and breaking into places that we need to get into. However, that is a heavy expense for the business owner because if they have to have that fixed for security reasons. So we try to get as many Knox boxes out there for the businesses as we can. And again, if a business wants one, please reach out. I can give them the resource that they need to get those. I mean, I'd like to see everybody have them, but
It sounds like it's a box more for a business and it provides first responders access to a building rather than taking what are you guys famous for? An axe and
Yeah.
breaking the glass, right?
Yes. We have plenty of tools to get into doors. We call them keys to the city, but but they're not easy on the doors. That's the commercial part of it. That's probably the most well known. But we also have residential boxes. So we have a loaner program for people who are alone, maybe on a fixed income, and the last thing they need is for us to break their door, right? So a lot of times people have health alerts, like medical alert call buttons, right? So they've fallen, they can't get to the door, their door is locked. They push the button, we get called, and we get there and we can't get in, right? So that's a big struggle for us. And if they really, and the only way for us to get in, if they don't have any kind of program like that, is to, like I said, take that door. So we really try to promote that because as many as we can get, we probably have, I'd say, probably close to 100 now. The security part of it is they're all keyed the same, and all the fire trucks and ambulances have a key that's locked into like kind of a safe that you have to put your PIN code in, and then that key will work any Knox box, whether it's residential or commercial. So it's one key for all of the boxes, which has ways to get into your home or your business.
I would feel safe letting a first responder come into my house if I was having an emergency. So, yeah, that's a great opportunity. You talked about for older people who have fallen and they can't get up, the classic phrase that we hear on
Right,
TV,
right,
right?
right.
Isn't that how they sell those alert bracelets
It is.
or buttons around the neck or whatever? Yeah, but I mean that's a classic example. But can you give me two other examples of people in our community here in Perrysburg who have a Knox box?
So the medical alert is definitely number one. Two, people that live on their own, right? Because a lot of times they can call by a cell phone and they've called us to their house and they need our help, but we can't, get in. And the other thing is too is sometimes they're accidentally pulled, right? So the last thing we want to do is accidentally hitting your button, right? And you don't need us, and then we had an issue. We've had instances before where maybe they're hard of hearing, right? So now not only did they accidentally hit the button, but now they can't hear us when we're knocking, and now we're taking a window or a door to get into a house we didn't even need to, right? So there's a lot of different reasons why to have them, but those are the main ones for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad we talked about that. There's probably some people who have older parents who may need one of these Knox boxes, and you've now let them know that they exist.
Yep, and it's also you might have neighbors that are worried about somebody, right? And so they may call for you, and maybe we can see somebody in the bed from the outside, but we don't necessarily need to knock take their door to because there's nothing wrong. It's just they have a welfare check, and so there's been a lot of instances like that, but this box definitely reduces that for sure.
Well, that's some good information right there. Thank you. I'm going to ask you about a kind of broad category. I don't know much about this because I don't really know how to participate, but I understand that there's a fire prevention week coming up in October. What is that? Why does it exist? What activities go along with that? Do you have a theme this year?
We have all that. Let's
Okay.
see. Where do we want to start? Let's start
Why
with the
why
theme,
does it
right?
exist? Well,
Oh,
why does
oh
it
yeah.
exist?
So it exists. The kind of interesting part about it is it's the oldest U.S. public health observance. It's been in existence since 1925. They observe it the week of October 9th, which honors the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. I don't know if anybody wants to do research on the Great Chicago Fire, but they basically almost lost their whole city on a fire. And ever since then, Fire Prevention Week has been established to get some information out to the public for fire prevention efforts. So it's been along a long time. The NFPA now kind of has been running it since, like I said, 1925.
Is this the 100th year?
I did some quick math, and it looks like it's year 100.
Holy
Yeah,
cow. Wow.
yeah, which is interesting because the theme this year is something that was never around 100 years ago. The theme this year is charge into fire safety, lithium ion batteries in your home, right? So we never had lithium ion batteries in 1925,
No.
which they pose a significant risk to homes. And the crazy thing is that they're everywhere in our homes. Anywhere from Phones, right? We use every day. Laptops, e-bikes, scooters, power tools, you name it, they're there. And we are definitely seeing an uptick in fires from those batteries.
Hmm. I'm trying not to be paranoid. Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, you're welcome.
As I sit here with my laptop in front of me and my
Yeah.
iPhone within arm's reach.
Right. Well, at least we can see them, right?
Yes, I can see they're
You're
not
right,
on fire
right,
currently.
right.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that theme. How do you even educate people on, fire safety when it comes to lithium batteries?
Safe storage is one, right? Trying to keep them outside of the house, right? In a shed, maybe, or a detached garage. That's definitely always good. Charging, using the cords that comes with the device, right? Or the scooter or whatever. That's a big thing because people don't realize that. Oh, they're like, oh, this fits. Let's charge it. It works. It's
You're
fine.
talking about cordless drills and things like that,
Correct. Yeah,
right?
scooters,
Okay.
e-bikes, you name it, right?
Oh, okay.
They all have their own different. Some of them are you can cross use them. With like maybe your scooter and your e-bike might have the same charger, but it's not rated the same, right? All those batteries and the way they charge is all different. And then disposal practices. A lot of people they'd love to DIY, right? Like, oh, I can fix this, and then they open the thing up and cause problems that way and try to fix it themselves, or they think that they can order something online and replace it with certain different things. I think too, just the acknowledgement too of where to get those. You want to try to get the same batteries that came with the device, and not just some third party somewhere. Those cause problems. We try to get the word out about like different, we'll call them TikTok challenges, right? Where kids will, like, I've seen it where they'll plug in a plug and then they'll drop quarters on the plug, and it's fun because it sparks, or they'll try to do certain things to their laptop which cause problems, with those, and could potentially cause problems too. Storage, like, sleeping with them, right? Just keeping them, underneath blankets where it overheats. I mean, yeah, I can see your face. I don't mean to.
My
I'm
eyes
adding to
just
the
got big.
I'm adding to the paranoia, but I think it's just like anything. It's important to know, what we can do to eliminate this.
Yeah, stay safe and also know some of the common things that can go wrong.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, a new thing to be paranoid about.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. But Fire Prevention Week, I'm sure you talk about normal things too, like extinguishing fires, campfires, and things like that. Is that true?
Oh
Or
yeah, for sure. The fire department has to, every fire we go onto nationwide, we have a reporting system. So that reporting system, we put, how the fire, what started the fire, kind of code it in certain ways. And then it goes into a national database, and then they get that national database and they find out, okay, was it kitchen fires that caused the most this year? Or, was it campfires, or was it, lithium ion batteries? And that's the theme that they chose, I think, because there's that uptick in lithium ion battery fires in houses. And I don't want to, I'm going to raise your paranoia again, but the crazy thing about lithium ion batteries is that they are self-contained and they literally have everything they need for a fire. And there's really not much that can stop them other than prevention, right? Because once they get going, the thermal runaway happens. And so they produce its own oxygen, they have their own fuel, and they have their own heat, right? So they have all three things that they need to maintain a fire. So it's very difficult, and they burn very, very hot. And so if they're in your home and the sparks fly and they land on something else, you can see where, this could turn into a catastrophe, quicker than normal. Again, I think it's a great theme this year, something that we really need to talk to our children about, right? And let's be honest, and some of us dads, right, that think that we can fix anything, so it's good to get all that out on the table and talk about it, right?
sounds
That's
like
really what
everybody needs to know about it.
yes, for
Yes.
sure.
Well, how do you spread the word? What are the activities that help you spread the word about this?
What we do for Fire Prevention Week is we have a fire safety trailer, and like you said, we talk about it all, right? We talk about smoke alarms, we talk about fire extinguishers in the home. We talk about, not overloading your outlets. I mean, so we take this fire safety trailer around to all of the different grade schools in town. So it's a whole week, 5 days. We go to Woodland, Toth, Frank, Fort Meigs. We hit the Montessori school. We hit St. Rose. Then there's a lot of different daycares, right, that are in town that we try to hit as well, or at least give them some information. And so we go out and educate all the children that are in town and all of that. And so we'll add some of the things about lithium ion batteries to the kids. But that's Fire Prevention Week for us. We've been doing it for, man, I've been with the department for 20 years, and we're doing it, all of that. Plus, man, we've had that fire safety trailer probably for 30, 35 years. So we've been doing it ever since.
Thank you for the important work that you're doing.
Yeah, no problem.
And how are you going to be educating the grown-ups about the dangers of lithium ion batteries too?
Well, we just did, right? So
Podcast
Perrysburg
episode.
podcast.
Yeah.
Take home, like we have things that we take home for the kids. I don't want parents to overlook that, right? Because I think kids bring home so much stuff, but we get it from the NFPA, so there'll be a lot of information packed into those activity books that we give those kids. So the biggest takeaway from that is asking parents to go review that stuff with their kids, talk to them at the dinner table. The one thing that I always try to stress, probably the most, is a safe meeting place. Kids say, "Oh yeah, we have one," and then they're like, "I'm like, where is it?" They're like, "Oh, it's in our bedroom." Well, but so we stress it needs to be outside, right? It needs to be away from the house, somewhere where all the family meets, because God forbid you get a house fire and you get somebody going out the front door, somebody going out the back door, right? Mom and dad doesn't know where the kids are at. So, that's the first thing that we care about when we get to a house is everybody out and is everybody safe? Because then we can get to work putting out the fire. If that's not the case, then we got to go in looking for somebody that may or may not even be there, right? So I can't even stress the importance of. So this is a great forum for this is to really stress the importance of the parents taking fire prevention, especially during that week, because we work very hard to get that message out to the kids, and we send that information home, and we really want the parents to review it with and because let's be honest, they're going to teach their kids, but they're probably also learning something themselves.
Yes, it's kind of like the children's message at church. It's as
Sure.
much for the adults as it is for the children.
100%.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Partnering with unusual partners, having the children bring the information home to the parents. Then it gets spread to the parents, right? Or maybe even the grandparents that are helping with the grandkids too, or, babysitters and whatnot. So yeah, unusual partners. But then also you can't do it all yourself here in Perrysburg. So the national news, I'm sure, will be spreading the messages, and the Toledo area news will be spreading it as well.
And I think we're hearing about it all the time in the news anyway, right? With these different fires that are happening with these. I mean, I've seen so many different, news articles or news stories about fires that happened, and that's what they realized was that it's from these batteries.
Oh boy. Well, I certainly learned something today. Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah.
If you're done with Fire Prevention Week, we can move on to other tips, tools, and resources for Perrysburg residents. I don't want to move on too quickly, though. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about with Fire Prevention Week?
I don't think so. Just, it's crazy important. I think the interesting part was that, people don't realize that it came from that Great Chicago Fire, right? I mean, those are, unfortunately, bad things happen, right? And that's why we talk about those things. So it's been going on for a long time, 100 years.
It's one thing to learn from your own mistake. It's another thing to learn from someone else's mistake. Not saying that Chicago made mistakes, but back then stuff was made of wood, and
absolutely,
our generation can learn from the bad things that happened to previous generations.
Yep, and we're continuing to find more for whatever reason.
All right. Well, thanks for talking about Fire Prevention Week. Let's move on to any other tips, tools, and resources for Perrysburg residents, whether it's city or township. I'm sure you have some tips and tools that you might like to share, like how often do you change your smoke detector and things like that?
That's a question we get a lot. We get calls in all the time because smoke alarms are going off in somebody's home, right? But they're like, there's no smoke, there's no fire, but they just go off. The best thing we can communicate to residents is sometimes you might turn on a fan, or it may be in the middle of the night and your smoke alarms are going off and you've checked everywhere and there's no smoke and there's no fire. Those things happen, unfortunately. There are smoke alarms have, for lack of a better term, lasers or beams of light in them, that if those beams of light, if like smoke goes across those, right? That's the whole point, is that if smoke goes across those beams of light, the smoke alarm will go off. But there are things that could also disturb that light, which could be dust, right? Like I said, you turn on a fan, you're like, what the heck? And then all of a sudden your smoke alarms go off. Or it could be changing the filters in your furnace, right? Because if that gets full of dust and things like that, pet dander and whatever, those are things. So your furnace kicking on could start it. And I tell people is something as simple as even a spider, right, or an ant that kind of gets into that thing and is creepy crawling around. It's not something you want to think about all the time, but unfortunately, those things happen. So, and the reality of it is too is that a lot of times people don't change their smoke alarms as often as they should, right? They have smoke alarms in their home, and 20 years later, they're going off and they don't know what's going on. So it may be just time to, if they're older than 10 years old, change them out, right? Get new ones in there, better technology. They also have lithium ion batteries in them, right? And those lithium
Great.
ion, yeah. And those lithium ion batteries, I mean, again, they're sealed. That I haven't heard of anything happening from those, but the idea is that they're good for 10 years. Okay. Because that's the other thing that residents sometimes overlook, we'll say, is, again, I get it, right? We're busy, kids,
Hmm.
madness all around. Those batteries, if they're 9 volts or a couple double A's or whatever, they need to be changed every 6 months. We try to get the message out that, hey, once the time changes and we're about ready to probably fall back again, right? Those are great times to change your batteries or spring forward. And I always recommend that they change them out if they need to, right? With those 10-year lithium ions, so then they don't have to deal with it anymore, right? So a couple things about that. If they chirp, right, and it has a battery, it's time to change them. And that's the other thing. They chase around these chirps all the time. They're always calling me like, I don't know what to do. Well, that just means you need to change your batteries more often, right? And maybe you need to change them all. And once that happens, it usually fixes the problem. The chirps, we get a lot. And then a lot of times now they're making dual CO and smoke alarms. One thing that I don't think people realize, and this is, again, another great, I guess, learning tip for everybody, is if it's a CO alarm, they have them standalone. They have smoke alarms that are standalone, but they also have combined ones. So then they have actually two different sounds that they make. Okay. So CO alarms, there'll be a succession of 4 beeps for CO alarms. So that's how you can identify if it's 3 or 4 beeps in a row. That's typically a CO alarm. And then smoke alarms are three beeps in a row, right? So you have 3 beeps, smoke alarm, 4 beeps, CO alarm. And again, if you have a dual in your house, that's how you can tell the difference. And obviously with CO alarms, it's odorless, colorless. Carbon monoxide is very dangerous. We've had plenty of families in town that struggle with that or have had problems with that. And so, getting out of the house, opening windows, calling the fire department is completely understandable. We have different meters so we can bring it to the house and make sure that it's not a false alarm, right? So if there's actually a problem in your house, we'll be able to tell you how many parts per million's in the house and if it's time to stay out of the house. And typically those are from HVAC systems that are malfunctioning in some way. That gas comes from incomplete combustion. So if something is leaking into your house, or if you have a fan that's not working properly, that CO can dump into your home. And that's why it's important to have a CO alarm on every floor of your home.
I think I only have them on my top floor and in my
Wait.
basement. So I'm I need to get one more.
We're going to cut that though, right?
Well, you know what? Me admitting that I don't have one,
Absolutely.
somebody's going to say, yeah, me too.
Actually,
So
I think I have one on my truck. I think I'm going to give you one before I go.
there you
How's
go.
that?
You can help me pick out a spot to put it there. Yep. I have
That
one.
was a lot of information, I know.
Yeah.
But it's crazy important.
I appreciate that. And I know they come in different shapes and sizes. I have one that plugs into an outlet upstairs, but then I have one that's wall mounted in my basement.
And so those also have batteries as well. Even though you're plugging them in, right? They have a battery backup, right? Because if you, for whatever reason, you lose power, you still want to have that thing working. So that's another little tidbit for you.
And how about fire extinguishers? I used to not have a fire extinguisher here, but then Tom Granata talked me into getting one. And he also told me how to care for it, tipping it upside, well, I guess rotating it, from top to bottom. People on the podcast cannot see what I'm doing with my hands, but
I can verify.
You have to agitate it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm doing the motion. Yeah, but it's serious. You should have a fire extinguisher, but then you should also maintain it properly too.
Yep, and those are typically 6 years, right? So that's the other thing too, is they have it from the 50s, and it's time to get a new one. We always recommend kitchens and garages, right? Those are the two main places. If you have a workshop in the basement or whatever it may be, you may have one in there too, but definitely in those two areas. And yeah, because what happens is there's dry chemical in there. And so if it just sits in the same position all the time, it could solidify to where when you need to use it, it's not being used.
I'll have to check. Mine might be about 6 years old. And how do you dispose of a fire extinguisher?
Oh.
Give it to the fire station?
Nope.
No? Oh, man.
So this is great. So I do have a video out there. I have a minute with the Marshal. If you ever
I have seen that, I think on YouTube.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. It's 1 minute. It's all people really need to see me for. But one of those that because that is probably one of the other biggest questions that we have. And so what we recommend to people is if it's end of service, end of life, you're ready to get a new one, you want to dispose of it, take it outside, get a garbage bag, kind of hold it, yes, you want to try to extinguish the dry chemical into the garbage bag.
Okay.
So what that does is it relieves the pressure, right? Of because you don't want the garbage, you don't want to throw it in the garbage, and then when they
explodes,
crush it, right?
Yeah, when pressure is added. Yeah.
Correct. So you want to try to relieve the pressure, and then you can either throw it in the garbage or throw it in. A lot of them are metal, so a lot of them can be recycled. They could be plastic too, so it could be just a throwaway item. But the idea is to get that pressure off there, and then you can then just throw away the dry chemical. It's not hazardous or anything. It's just a dry chemical powder that's in there. So yeah, that's a big question that we get for sure.
Okay, I thought you were going to say that we should just spray it on our grass or something like that.
Yeah,
but no, it sounds like trash bags.
Yeah,
better.
Trash bags probably better.
Okay.
Not to say that you can't, but I mean it does make a mess for sure. So if you can try to eliminate that mess, if you don't feel comfortable, maybe somebody else in the house would.
Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about with smoke detectors or fire extinguishers before we move on?
I will say that fire extinguishers, we also have classes for those too. We do it mainly for business. We have the PASS technique we try to teach, which is an acronym for pull the pin, aim the nozzle, squeeze the handle, and then sweep back and forth. We have a little burn pan that we will take out to different businesses, and it just, again, it's that hands-on thing, right? You see them all over, but who's ever really used an extinguisher? So we try to get that out to the public as well. When we do have the fire safety trailer, one of the things we've been doing, we have a stove prop in there now too. So, and I'm pretty sure during the open house, we'll have that thing running, and it'll give parents the opportunity to use that PASS technique on the stove, right? We have a little stove prop, has a little fire, smokes a little bit, and gives you kind of a more realistic, but just get you put your hands on and being able to do it.
That's a good opportunity because most people would not have an excuse to use a fire extinguisher.
Correct.
Yeah. How about fire blankets? I know that they've been all over the internet. You see them on Facebook ads. Are they really any good?
I don't really have an opinion on them. I would say that if you would like to buy one and learn how to use them, I think because that's really what we're doing when it comes to any kind of fire, like on the stove top, right? If it's in a pan, what are you supposed to do with it when it's in a pan? You know,
Well, you're supposed to turn off the burner
that's a
first.
that's a really good idea. What else would you do?
Yeah. Put the lid on
Out
so
there,
you remove the oxygen from, the whatever's
why am I even
burning.
here?
Oh,
Right?
I'm just
No,
guessing. I
no,
do
no,
have
you're not.
I have a fire blanket though in
Yeah.
my garage. My dad saw it on the internet and he thought
Hmm.
it would be a good gift. So I can go grab it real quick and throw it on there. But I would say I would not fan the flames at all. I would not leave the burner on. What are your other ideas,
Well,
Aaron?
no, that was at no. My point was is that you said exactly what I was hoping for, which is
Oh,
put the lid
good.
on, right? Yeah, A1. But
Okay.
that's the whole point, right? Is like of a fire blanket is you're smothering it, right? You're taking away the oxygen, which is really what that thing's doing. It just a lot. It's bigger than a lid, right? So if you have fire that's spread on your top of your stove, absolutely throw that thing on there, right? It's not gonna harm anything. I've just never used them.
Okay.
I know that they're a thing, and I know that they're out there, and I get the question all the time. I
Oh,
would never tell anybody not to use them, but again, follow the directions, right?
right.
Figure out how to use them. Get your get your hands on them because that's the other question that I get too a lot is escape ladders on second floors, right? Well, the one thing that we're seeing is that it's still in the plastic, right? You know what I mean? Like they haven't gotten them out, right? To use them, to deploy them, to figure out how they attach to the house. Again, I've never used them, but that's what always we recommend is getting using them, getting your hands on them, and trying to figure out if that's even something that you're even willing to do,
It's
right?
it's literally a fire drill.
Yeah, absolutely. Home fire drills are not a bad thing.
Right. I liked your point earlier about having a meeting point too.
Hmm,
I would always think meet out by the mailbox or, in front, because that's probably where a fire truck's going to come because they're looking for your house number.
that's
And it's
right.
right there, usually on the mailbox or at the curb.
Yeah, and when somebody's out there waving us down, it's pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
But
Or you,
100%,
or you see the flames.
for sure. But usually see people out there showing us exactly where it's at, and it's important because, like you said, you'd think that it would be there. Well, we want to get parents feeling very, very confident of where their safe meeting place is, right? And having their children be very confident, like, yeah. And it could be a tree, right? And we talk about, well, what if the tree gets taken down because it dies or whatever it may be, right? If things change, you also need to recommunicate that with the family.
Yeah, I think the Fire Prevention Week every October gives you an opportunity to talk about these things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's a good reminder.
Hmm.
Very good. Any other tips, tools, or resources for Perrysburg residents when it comes to fire prevention?
Yeah, I want to take it back to those smoke alarms because a couple things that we get is we do try to install smoke alarms if we can, right? It's not always possible. It seems to be a tough point to communicate because a lot of the houses in Perrysburg have smoke alarms that are wired, okay? And you may not even know that they're wired because maybe you haven't pulled them down because you've been in your home for 20 years, right? And you need to
Mine are
replace them.
wired. Mine are wired.
Okay,
What do I
okay.
need to know?
Well, the wired smoke alarms are absolutely the best because, oh yeah,
I'm
because
glad.
because a lot of times people's furnaces and that are down in the basement, right? Hot water heaters, things that can catch fire. People, storing things, boxes too close to them, whatever it may be. And if you have a fire that starts in your basement and you have a wired smoke alarm, that smoke alarm will go off in your bedroom, right? Or outside your bedroom or somewhere on the second floor where you're sleeping. Because if not, you have to, unfortunately, you'll have to wait till the smoke reaches up to the first floor to hit a smoke alarm and then get up, navigate its way up to the second floor. And so by the time it gets to your second floor and you actually wake up and realize what's going on, the fire could be progressed so far that you may have lost your egress because the floor is no longer there, right?
Oh boy.
So, right. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
You're so full of good news.
Well, but I know it is a tough thing to talk about, but boy, do we need to talk
Yeah.
about it. So
Yeah.
those wired smoke alarms are 100%. They are the best.
Good.
What I will say for people who want us to come in and put smoke alarms in their home is that we don't do them if they're wired because we want people to continue to have, because we only have the unwired smoke alarms. So we do not want people to, we don't want to give you a less quality, item for something that you have in your home already. So we try to not put those unwired smoke alarms in your home. Now, what we also don't have, which is on the market now, they have Bluetooth enabled ones, right? So that if you don't have a wired home, you can actually get these Bluetooth enabled devices that will talk to each other that way, right? So if it's going off in your basement, it'll go off on your second floor as well. We just don't have access to them. They're a little bit more expensive. We get our smoke alarms from Safe Kids, right? We don't have a lot of them, but if somebody's in need of them, or they have unwired smoke alarms and they're unable to install them themselves or afford them themselves, we will make concessions and go out there and install them for them. But we don't want to put a less quality item in your house. So especially when it comes to safety, right? So we definitely want smoke alarms in people's homes, but if they can do it themselves, that's what we recommend. But if some circumstances, we will go in there and help them out.
Just for the record, I had a certified electrician come over here and he did the wired
Yeah.
smoke detectors in my home and did a great job. And I should probably look and see how old they are because, like you said, 10 years
Right.
is, the recommended lifespan.
And there's usually a date on them. So if you pull them down, you can usually find a date and that'll give you a good idea of how old they are.
Yeah, I'm already going to have to check my fire extinguisher. Now I will check my smoke detectors as well.
Well, I'm giving you a list.
I've gotten homework here. Yeah. Yep. Very good. Anything else? Fire prevention tips.
I got most of I think the big talking points out that people call us about. But again, if people have questions, by all means, call us.
All right. And then I know you've referenced Safe Kids Greater Toledo more than once.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe we were going to talk about recycling something also. So these are our last two topics. What would you like to talk about first?
So Safe Kids, great organization that we have been on their fire safety committee for, probably well over a decade now. With some of the things that they do, besides the car seats, we try to procure CO alarms, smoke alarms. We also have fire safety information that we give out through that organization as well. Typically, the age groups that I give out that information to is pre-K and kindergarten. So a lot of times when I go to daycares, things like that, and do fire safety education, their book, Max Learns Fire Safety, is about. It's actually kind of ingenious because preventing fires, right, is the best way. And Curiosity in Kids, they have matches and lighters that they see, with candles and everything else, and birthday cakes. And so we really tried to talk to them, and that's really where the book is geared towards, is that younger demographic that is curious about those things and maybe play with them, and how important it is to not play with those things. So that's really where that book is geared towards. And it was actually written by fire safety professionals, probably in the 90s, if I could guess now. So it's kind of a cool thing because it's local and it came through Safe Kids, and a lot of different departments are using Max. So that's a great resource that we utilize, and we really try to distribute that throughout the region, really. One of the things that we've recently done is there was a program back in the day called ACBC, which was Aluminum Cans for Burned Children. It was through Mercy's Foundation, where we collected aluminum cans, and the proceeds from the recycling of those went into a fund that's how now we still get those smoke alarms, CO alarms, and these different coloring books and different books for the classrooms. And so now, but there was some recent changes in some laws where they were trying to get burn bandages and things like that for kids that were burned. They would fund burn camps and things like that, and in addition to fire prevention materials. But because they looked at it as a gift, they kind of they shied away from the program for a long time. It kind of shuttered for a while. Eastern Ohio has a great aluminum ACBC program that's thriving, and so we were a little jealous, I guess, and we wanted to kind of bring it back.
It's
So
healthy
yeah,
competition.
well, I mean, they're doing amazing work over there. So
Great.
yeah,
They
we've
inspire you to do it too.
yeah, right. So we took that and we rebranded it under ProMedica and Safe Kids, and with Mercy's help, and so we now have Recycle to the Max, which is based off Max the character, and so now the fire departments are continuing to start to recycle their cans. We take these cans into Kripke, and we're officially, I guess, launching back the program. September 3rd, we'll be at Kripke, which is a recycling center, and I think it's Sylvania. Sylvania is going to be there. I think we're going to try to get Springfield, Maumee, Perrysburg, Swanton. So a bunch of different departments will be there. And basically, what we want to do is just get the word out to let people know that they can recycle their cans at Kripke, and they can donate that proceeds to Safe Kids and to our program to hopefully self-sustain it for many, many years to come.
That's a good opportunity.
I think so.
My dad and my father-in-law usually take their aluminum cans to Bowling Green, to the recycling center there. Maybe I can talk them into taking them up to Kripke.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
And really, we're hoping to expand the program in Perrysburg. Right now, it's just the fire station. We're just collecting our cans, and Bowling Green helps us out. Bowling Green Fire. Let's see, a couple businesses in town. So if anybody's interested and want to help us out and wants to recycle their cans, as opposed to just throwing them in the recycling bin, or sometimes people don't have recycling, so it's a great opportunity to get those cans out of the waste stream and put them in for good use.
Yeah, keep them out of the landfill for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for talking about Safe Kids and recycling. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about as we wrap this up?
The big takeaway, and I guess really all the things that we talked about, are pretty much going to be at our open house. It's a great way to, I guess, familiarize yourself, with all the different programs that we do. Ask questions. There'll be different partners there. Really, everything we talked about is going to be there, which I think is it. Now that I look at it, think, wow, that's going to be great. So yeah, follow us on Facebook. Right, the fire department has a Facebook page. The city of Perrysburg has a Facebook page. I think Instagram as well. And yeah, just come on out to our open house and kickstart it that way.
Thank you very much for being here on the Perrysburg podcast to talk about fire safety in Perrysburg.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Thanks again to Aaron Harwell for being my guest on episode 110 of the Perrysburg podcast. I hope you'll agree that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I hope you learned some fire prevention tips today, and you can put those in place for you and your family. And I also hope that you plan to attend the open house at the Fort Meigs Fire Station on September 7th, 2025, from 1 to 4 p.m. Sounds like a fantastic event. Thank you so much for listening to the Perrysburg Podcast, episode 110. To find the show notes, go to perrysburgpodcast.com. In the show notes, you'll find the addresses of the City of Perrysburg's fire stations, their page on the City of Perrysburg's website, the Fire Division's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter links, and a link to Kripke Enterprises, which is on Central Avenue, technically in Toledo. I think it's Sylvania Township, just in case you want to recycle your aluminum cans there to support Safe Kids Greater Toledo. Lots of links today. Everything you need is on perrysburgpodcast.com. If you would like to be notified by email each time a new episode of this podcast comes out, sign up for the Perrysburg Podcast's newsletter on perrysburgpodcast.com. I'll email you every week. You can also subscribe to or follow the Perrysburg Podcast on your favorite podcast player and YouTube to get each new episode right when it comes out. Go ahead and share this episode with all your Perrysburg area friends, family, and neighbors. This episode could save a life. Thanks again for listening today, and I'll talk to you next week.